In this video, we're going to look at generating random numbers. Random numbers are something we use all the time in video games. They make video games unpredictable and therefore more fun to play. We use them for things like generating what numbers come up when we roll dice, or which card out of a deck of 52 we pull, or how much damage is done to an enemy when we swing a sword. We use them so much that the ability to generate random numbers has been built into every programming language I've ever used. So let's look at how we generate them in C#. C# has a class called random. It lives in the library called System, which is imported for you automatically when you create a new project. So the ability to generate random numbers is almost at your fingertips by default. So let's look at how we use it. First, you need to create an instance of a reference to that class. So in this line here, we're creating a variable called R. It is of type random, and we are assigning it a reference to a random class. So we're creating a new copy of the random class. Now, to have the random class create a new random number for us, we call its next function. So our variable R here has a member function built into it called next, and this will return us a random number between 0 and 4 billion. Why 4 billion, I hear you cry? Because integers are 32 bits long, and the biggest number you can store in a 32-bit number is 2 to the 32 power minus 1, which is about 4 billion. So there you go. This will give you a number between 0 and 4 billion. But I don't want a number between 0 and 4 billion, I hear you cry. I need a number between 0 and 52, or between 0 and 100, or between 100 and 200. How do I handle that, I hear you cry? Well, there's another version of the next function that takes a range. So in this example here, I'm trying to calculate how much damage I want to do to an enemy, and this is going to return me a number between 0 and 99 inclusive. So when you supply a range, you will get the bottom of the range, but you'll get everything up to, but not including the top of the range. So if you have 0 to 100, you'll get 0 to 999, right? If you pass in 0 to 1,000, you'll get numbers between 0 and 999 inclusive. So there we go. All you have to do is create a copy or an instance or a reference to this random class, and then call its next function, and then pass in the range of numbers that you would like to get back. So now let's switch over to Visual Studio, and I will show you how to create a little project that demonstrates how to use the random class. Okay, so here we are in Visual Studio, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. And I'm going to call it rand test. And I'm going to make this a console application, so it's basically going to run in a little DOS prompt or a little command window rather than running as a forms application, which most of the projects that you're going to make are going to be. This is just going to be a simple console application to demonstrate the random number class. So I'm going to click OK. And you'll notice that some code is created for me, and I'm going to zoom in on this a bit so you can see it better. Notice the system class is already imported, so I don't have to worry about importing the random class. I'm going to get it because the random class is part of that system package that's being imported there. So let's go and type in that code that I just showed you. To create an instance of the random class, or a variable of that type, I say random. That's the type of object I'm trying to create. And now I have to give it a name, and I'm just going to call it R for it's nice and brief, short, compact, concise, whatever. And it's going to be an instance of the random class. Not random, there we go. Okay, so I have now created a variable called R. It is of type random, and it is pointing or referencing an instance of the random class, which is a copy of the random class. So now to generate numbers, I need to say r.next, but you need to be able to see this. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a loop for int I equals 0. So my loop counter is going to be called I. It's going to be an integer called I, and it's going to start at 0, and I'm going to say as long as I is less than 100, do whatever is inside the loop, and at the end of the loop, I++, which means add 1 to I. So this I is going to start at 0. As long as I is less than 100, it's going to do whatever's in the loop, and then at the end of the loop, it adds 1 to I. So this loop will run 100 times. So I'll say console.writeLine r.next, capital. Okay, there we go. So this should write out 100 random numbers. Now I've was doing this sort of thing before with console apps, and I've sort of found that if I didn't put a breakpoint in here, the program would run so quickly that it would end before I even had a chance to look at the output. So what I'm going to do is put in a semicolon there, which is an empty statement, and I'm going to set a breakpoint. I'm going to say insert breakpoint. And now when I run this, the debugger will actually stop there. So let's see what we get when we run this thing. Okay, so the debugger stopped at that breakpoint. Now let's pop up our DOS window. Okay, so we've got numbers. We've got some pretty big numbers here. Possibly even more than 4 billion. I don't know. Those are huge numbers. Anyway, let's go change that, and let's make some numbers that are in the 0 to 100 range, right? So if I want a number between 0 and 100, I can do this. This is going to give me numbers between 0 and 999, right? So I will see 999 in the output. I will not see 100. So let's just run this and see what we get. Okay, so we hit our breakpoint. There we go. Look at all these random numbers we got, right? So 27, 31, right? But I don't see anything bigger than 100, right? So there we go. So anyway, there you go. There's the random class. It you have to instantiate a copy of it, and then you can call its next method to return a random number for you. Now, let's just, for the sake of this example, say instead of wanting a number between 0 and 100, you wanted a number between -50 and +50. Well, what you could do then is, well, you could either, let's try it this way, -50 and +50. Let's just see if this works. Are we going to get negative numbers? We do, yes. Okay, so that works too. And another thing you could have done is generate a number between 0 and 100, and then just subtract 50 from that number. So that would have worked also. So there you go. There's an example of using the random class. You just instantiate it and call its next function to return numbers, and you provide the range of the number that you want to get. So that's it. So if you have any questions, please ask. As always, I'm here to help. Thanks for watching.